We are at the Heritage Park Zoo in Prescott, Arizona. I am with Reptile Gardner, and your position is?
I am the Deputy Director here at the Heritage Park Zoo. We have a really great park. It's actually a sanctuary, so every animal here is a rescue, non-releasable, confiscated, has some kind of story that needed a permanent home. And I am second in charge here. Pam McLaren is our Executive Director, and I joined on the team about a couple of years ago, and have loved being here ever since.
Okay, great. And we're standing in front of this nice gate that everybody wanted us to stand in front of, but this is made by a local artist?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the really nice things about the zoo is we have a lot of community support, and in fact we have a local artist that not only did our gate, but if you've been to the Heritage Park Zoo, we have a very large praying mantis in our park as well, which he also created. Yeah, Ruben Begonia. He's a local artist.
Oh, okay, so he does metal work.
He does metal work. Yeah, he lives right here in the Yavapai County. So.
You want to take a walk and start guiding us through?
Yeah, come and see the zoo. So we have two emu here. This is Ollie and Fran. They're always very curious. You know, most of the zoo is pretty intimate. We're only on 10 acres. And so, you know, opposed to some other zoos or sanctuaries, you can get a little bit more up close here. And they're very used to the visitors. They like to come over. In fact, when they don't have visitors for a very long time, that's an odd thing. Let's go see some more.
Okay. So you got a picnic area that we just passed. You have one kids area.
We have a lot of things geared towards a younger audience. The red shoe actually came from the Phoenix Zoo many years ago.
Oh,
and
really?
so a lot of people who visited the Phoenix Zoo when they were kids get really super excited when they see it. They recognize
hey,
it.
That was over there.
Exactly. So we have a cotton top tamarin in here, and we have some marmosets in here. So Quick, Gizmo, and Lily.
And amazingly enough, to the people who are watching this, when you say tamarin or you say marmoset, they'll say, what is that?
Exactly.
So,
So a very small monkey. They're very small. They eat a lot of insects. They like small fruits, but insects are probably their primary food. And lots of times people will get animals in other states where they're allowed to have them as pets. And then you travel to a different state and the rules can change. And that can happen a lot of times with exotic animals. So that's really how we got these marmosets. They needed a permanent home.
Why are the rules changing? Just environmental thing? Or?
You know, every state can make their own rules.
Really?
It's true.
Wow.
And some states are way more lenient than others about the types of pets that you can have. Yeah, and so if you travel to a different state and don't know that you can't have that animal in that state, then they have to find a home for them. And that sometimes happens with a lot of cats, exotic cats. Marmosets are a good example of that, and primates are definitely. This is one of our brand new exhibits. This is our eagle exhibit.
Oh, these are two beautiful eagles.
They are. They're really just amazing animals to see up close and personal. So we have our bald eagle and our golden eagle. And if you've been to the zoo in the past, they used to be, that's Montana talking. They used to be up closer to the front of the zoo. We were lucky enough to have an Eagle Scout build this for us. And it's only a little, about almost 2 years old now, probably maybe a year and a half. All eagles that are in captivity have some kind of wing injury that makes them non-releasable. Raptors, our bird of prey, need to be able to fly perfectly, be able to use their feet perfectly to hunt and kill and feed themselves. And once a raptor, especially one of this size, gets a wing injury, they're no longer able to do that. That's what happened with both of these birds. They were found with wing injuries that made them non-releasable, so then they needed a permanent home. One fun story, you heard Montana talking up there. One of the keeper's jobs is really to, observe, listen, and you heard her kind of calling. It's kind of a nice high-pitched talk.
Yeah.
But one day it was actually kind of low and gravelly, which was highly unusual. And it was a great indicator that she was getting a fungal illness called aspergillosis. And it's hard to catch, but because her call sounded so differently, we were able to catch it early and actually treat her for it. And she's been doing perfectly well ever since. And so you'll see a lot of times when the keepers approach, we talk to Montana, make sure she still has that really nice high-pitched call.
They seem to be reacting to us, and they know we're here, and they don't mind.
No, they're very used to people, and they're even more used to their keepers. They do really get excited with people, and I always tell people the best time to come out to the zoo is early in the morning. That's when the animals, are all set and ready for the day, excited to see their keepers, to get the first morning meal, and that's usually when they're the most active and the best time to come out.
I've seen bald eagles, and sometimes maybe because they're farther away, she just looks large.
They are large. So in the raptor world, females are larger than the males. That's pretty standard. Yeah,
I did not know
it's
that.
True. It's true. So they're going to be much larger. A lot of times you'll think, "Ooh, that's a male," and actually, if it's a really large bird, and if you see them side by side, you can definitely tell a difference. But Montana is a pretty good sized female.
Yeah,
she's a spectacular looking bird. We like her a lot. We're very grateful to have her. This is one of my favorite exhibits, Species Survival Plan throughout the United States. That animal collection is managed as a group. And so there's a lot of recovery and reintroduction plans for Mexican gray wolves. And they need help, the SSP does, with placing the animals, holding the animals before maybe they're ready to be paired with a male or go someplace else.
Just look at this.
Yep.
It's almost like you could, except we know that's not true, but it's almost like, oh, it's somebody's dog.
These guys are one of the rarer types of wolves. We are lucky enough to have 3 sisters here.
Oh, they're sisters.
Yep, they're 3 sisters. So several years ago, we had a male and a female.
Do they all get along?
That's a good question.
There's always 2 that doesn't like the other one, you know?
It's funny you should say that. So when we got these girls, they were just a little over a year, and they weren't quite sexually mature yet. And so just like, wolves, they're pack animals, they have to develop a hierarchy. But because we got them before they were sexually mature, once they were here, they kind of had to work out that dominance. They definitely do have to, kind of fight it out for a little bit.
I wonder, you're looking at these and they look like dogs. You know they're not dogs. So are they thinking, oh, it's nice to see some people, or are they thinking, that looks like lunch?
I think, they still have to have their wildness maintained, because we don't know what their future is. So we have very strict rules about what kind of food we can give them, how much we can interact with them, which is very limited. Exactly, because the hope is at some point they could either be paired up with a male and breed, or be moved around in some way to help the entire group of Mexican gray wolves. But we're really excited to be able to participate in this program. So they're one of the unique animals here at the sanctuary.
So this is the Kiwanis area. So tell me about that and their part in this.
So this is our Kiwanis Korner. It was donated by the Kiwanis Club. They helped us build the different structures that are here. So they'll only give a one-time donation, just like the Eagle Scout towards the Eagle exhibit. Sure. This was towards our whole Kiwanis Korner area.
And then after that, it becomes yours.
And after that, we take care of it. Okay. So it's a really great way to give back to the zoo, to the sanctuary. Over time, if you've been to the zoo, we've been around now for 33 years. We've been making changes, every single year. Sure. And it's really with community support and the donations that people make in different groups that we're allowed to make all these improvements and grow. And it really is one of the highlights for our younger visitors. We can show off some of the domestic animals that they may not be familiar with. And it's a really nice place just for them to come and play and interact.
Oh man! Now why is this one blowing up its feathers?
They get excited. That's a natural way for them to communicate. Okay. They're saying, "Hey, there's something new going on." Making sure everybody's aware of it. So it's kind of like a call to one another. If they were in a group, which usually turkeys are in a larger group, they can communicate, "Hey, something's going on. It's a little different. Be aware."
This short period of time of going from the eagle, the bald eagle, which is our national bird, to the turkey, which was going to be our national bird.
Almost the national bird,
by
exactly.
Ben Franklin. Which one do you think? Where's the bets down on? I think these are pretty impressive.
They are pretty impressive. And that's one of the reasons it's really nice to have them here in Kiwanis, because very few people get to see turkeys like this up close and personal.
Oh, I remember this.
So these are actually Canada lynx. They get mixed up a lot if you would go see our bobcats. They look very similar, but they have different ranges, different coats, slightly different legs like you were talking about, and tail length. We don't think lynx came down actually this far south, but they are beautiful animals that we were able to have here.
Well, you've got moderate temperatures here, so it works.
Yes, it works well. They wouldn't do super great in really warm
See how
weather.
beefy that cat looks?
Yeah, they're just gorgeous. They really are.
So all of them their tails are bobbed like that?
Yes, exactly. Much shorter than you would think.
Right.
And so they don't have the long sweeping tails like other cats do.
Yeah, let's check this look at it. This is kind of cool.
This is one of the nicest spots in the zoo, really, because you get a beautiful overlook of Willow Lake. But we have our pronghorn and our mule deer, and one of our keepers, Shannon.
That's a tough job. Do you like your job?
I love my job.
All right, that's good to hear. Oh, wow. You came, so we're at the Coyote. This coyote came up to me like my neighbor's dog.
Yes. So, if there are occasions, and Loki's a really good example of that, if she had to be hand raised, she was found after her mom had passed away, and we had to raise her up since she could fit in our hands. That's how small she was.
Wow.
But because she's a hand-raised coyote, she's not eligible to be re-released because she doesn't know how to be
a
coyote, and she's not afraid of people. She really, in fact, enjoys people.
She's almost a pet, but yet, how would she react around small children? If she
She
had the opportunity, would
she
go
could
back
actually be very aggressive. In fact, there are some keepers that were here, raised her, that she loves to see and acts like a pet with, and other keepers that she only met later on that can't go in with her and have that kind of same relationship. So they definitely can be aggressive, and you always have to be careful around any hand-raised exotic animals. We have our turkey vultures. Most of them have some kind of wing injury, just like the eagles that we saw earlier. If they have a wing injury, they can no longer fly, hunt for themselves, and they have to come into some kind of permanent housing situation and not be re-releasable.
When are they found with wing injuries? Is that what it is?
So a lot of times things can happen. We have a lot of glass strikes, so glass is really something that birds can't see easily, and as more construction happens...
Oh, you're talking about hitting windows.
They could hit windows, they could hit moving cars.
That makes sense. Oh, yeah, right, moving cars.
So, yeah, exactly. So we actually carry a game and fish phone. We work with game and fish as well as animal control. We carry a phone 24/7. They give us a call, and either we go out and pick them up, or they'll bring them into
so you have
us.
The staffing to do that in case you get something.
Exactly. That's a big part of our mission, is helping animals. And sometimes they just need a little bit of recovery time and then can be re-released, and other times they'll need a lot more extensive medical attention and or permanent housing.
So this is Mac and Cheese. We like to get a little bit creative when we do our animal names. They're about 8 months old. They were actually brought to us, found abandoned under somebody's car. Unfortunately,
in this state?
Yeah, and actually just right up in Chino. So unfortunately, a lot of times when these guys are found, mom might even be around. Mom has to go out and get groceries and do everything and take care of herself on top of taking care of babies. So unfortunately, if people find wild animals, they think they're abandoned, and they'll bring them to us, which unfortunately makes it a little bit harder to reunite them or to even get them back out into the wild. So that is what happened to Mac and Cheese. And the people actually think that they got on trail cam their mother being taken by a mountain lion. So we went ahead and raised them.
One of those sad Disney stories.
Exactly. So they are going to be with us for the rest of their lives. Luckily, they have each other, so they're very bonded, which is awesome. A lot of times when you get a solitary animal, they tend to try and bond to the human instead, which is not what we want. We want them to try and be as wild as possible. But they are still habituated, meaning they would not do very well in the wild because they're too used to being around humans. They have very sensitive nerves in their hands. That is the way they explore their environment. You know, a lot of animals use their sense of smell and whiskers. Raccoons use those hands. They actually wash their food. People have seen videos of raccoons washing their food. And they do that to make sure that everything is safe on there, and also so they can get a real feel for what they're eating and what that texture is. These guys in the wild forage a lot for bugs, fruits, vegetables, roots. They might go after small mammals or small birds if they can, but they are a scavenger, so they're going to be going after whatever they can. And worms, beetles, they tend to be the easiest thing for them to get in the wild.
So that's what happens when they don't know about in and out. They start eating mealworms and other things.
Yeah, I haven't let them figure out that, they don't know fast food exists.
Yeah, good thing.
Thank goodness.
Good thing.
We have 3 bobcats here. This is something you're much more likely to see in the state of Arizona. They do look very similar to our domestic cats, but a little bit bigger, a much more spotted coat. Definitely be careful around them, because especially if they have young with them, they can be much more aggressive. So this is an African serval, not something local, but it was one of those stories where somebody came from out of state where he was legal to have, and they decided to move here to Arizona where it wasn't something that we can have. And so he got placed here, a really nice cat, getting used to being around visitors a little bit more. His name is Frank. But what's really interesting is if you see him out during the day, lots of times he's laying in the sun or playing with his ball or hunting for food that we hide around his exhibit. He's got much longer legs than any cat that you've seen here on ground. So there's one up there. There's one right here.
Oh, sleeping.
They blend in with their environment quite a bit. Even a hand-raised javelina, they can be very, very aggressive. And they have very large canines, so you always want to be careful around a javelina pack. Give them their distance, especially any javelina that have young with them, because they'll be a lot more protective, a little bit more aggressive at that point. But you still want to make sure you don't put out food close to your home, because they will try and find any free food that they can get. But they can be aggressive, even as kind of, I think they're cute.
So where do they categorize? I mean, it's got pig-like hooves.
They're pretty unique. They're more of a peccary, which is kind of its own little group.
Okay.
So it's hard. They are hard to pinpoint, but they are.
Some people say they're giant rats. Nah.
They're not. They're not. Oh, look at that face. How can you not love it?
Yeah, it's more like a pig. Look at the nose.
They're much more like a pig, but yeah, they're more but not a pig.
But
exactly. And still really curious and smart. Inside our Tarantula Grotto, so probably one of the kids' favorite, maybe more so than some of the parents. But we like to highlight the different variety of tarantulas that we have, not only here in Arizona and some from different places around the planet. Sometimes they're a little reclusive to see, because most tarantulas they're going to hide away unless they're in the hunt and trying to catch something. And then we have a variety of different other insects. One of our favorites for the kids, the Madagascar hissing cockroaches.
Oh yeah.
We have some toads.
They're cute.
Some scorpions, but a kind of a fun place to kind of see some of the native tarantulas, especially if you haven't seen them before. It's fun to see them. If you get to see them up close, they're really beautiful. So that's a Brazilian white-kneed that we have right in the corner.
Oh, okay, a Brazilian. And does that mean they only come from Brazil, or is that just a name?
No, these animals do come from Brazil. Usually they're going to be found more in dry, arid climates,
okay.
But there are some tropical tarantulas as well.
Okay.
But they all have different strategies for hunting, different colorations, but it's kind of fun to see them up close. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Rachel here, who's her keeper, but she has a great story.
This is Jade. She is our mountain lion. They are native all throughout the United States. However, Jade has never seen the wild. She was actually born and raised in Texas to be put into the exotic pet trade. When she was, I don't know the exact age when she was given to the people, but someone bought her and kept her in their house. It's actually legal in some states to do that. So they kept her as a pet. They declawed her. So she does not have front claws. declawing essentially removes the first knuckle bone here in a cat, so causes some issues as they age. So she actually has some tendinitis. We combat that by keeping her active. I hide her food all over the enclosure, so she has to search for it. So she stretches her limbs out, gets her paws all stretched out, and it actually works really well. She's going to be turning 14 years old this year. And we've had her since she was 9 months.
What is the lifespan of it?
They can actually live into their 20s. Usually in the wild, you're looking at 10, early teens if they're lucky. There's just a lot going against them. Once they get older, younger mountain lions are hunting better than they are. They're not getting as much food. They have a hard time holding territory. A multitude of things that can make it so they don't live that full lifespan. But here where she has yearly vet care, we call if there's a very small limp, you know, she gets all the food she needs. They can live well into their 20s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she's, you can see she's very relaxed, and that is because she was kept as a pet. So unfortunately, she is very used to people, which is, besides being declawed, why she can't go into the wild. I don't know if it was caught on tape, but she rubs on the fence, she purrs. These are the largest cat that purr. Anything larger than that is actually considered a big cat, and they do not purr anymore, but they roar. She's kind of being a ham. She's with us actually because they moved here to Arizona from Texas when she was 9 months old. And here in Arizona, it's very illegal. And luckily for Jade, they did get found out. And so she was confiscated by U.S. Game and Fish and brought to us. So we're very lucky to have her. And I guess we're gonna do a little demonstration of one of the ways we exercise her to keep her nice and active and strong at her older age. Jade, are you ready?
All right,
All right, Kitty.
Ah, okay.
You got me here.
So that's like catfishing, literally.
See, I mean, the keepers put a lot of time and effort into really providing her physical therapy, and that's what we try and do to keep her nice and her limbs and her joints, especially in her claws, moving in order to get them the exercise that they need. So it's everything from playing ball like this to hiding food around the exhibit, even up high in the trees so that she climbs and uses her all of her body to get at her food and not just get food in a bowl. And you can see she's gonna hang on to that for a while.
Yeah, she's just got her teeth in it, and that's it. She says, you're not moving it, you're not taking everything away from
You
me.
gotta wait till it doesn't have a pulse.
That's a natural kill. I love Roadrunners, and we do have Roadrunners here in the Prescott area. Mostly found up on the ground, but they can fly. The misnomer is that they can't fly, but they can, and they tend to actually perch higher up in trees at night to be safe from predators. But they do tend to run around ground. They're really into insects, small mammals like mice and other rodents.
So what's that coral snake looking? Is that a toy?
Yes, so we provide lots of different enrichment for the animals because they're really smart and they like to interact with different things. If they were to come across like a small snake that they were considering eating, they would actually pick it up with their beak and kind of slam it on the ground. This is like a mating type behavior, and because he's hand raised, he will offer a lot of times to his keeper because that's who he associates with as a hand-raised animal, as somebody he wants to attract. Bred birds like the Roadrunner. So you see him kind of waving his tail, his feathers are up on his head.
He's hitting on her, right?
He's hitting on Rachel.
I have a collection of sticks that he has given me.
So you can see he's not actually eating the worm in his mouth.
So he really likes you.
He's saying, hey, look at me, I'm a great hunter.
Terrific. Why is this Raven in the cage?
A lot of times if people find injured animals, they decide to take them in, and if they don't know a lot about caring for an animal themselves, and unfortunately for this bird, he had a wing injury and somebody took him in and thought they were doing, the charitable thing and caring for the bird. But what really happened was the wing didn't heal correctly.
Okay.
And so once it was brought to us, it wasn't something that we could repair any longer. So it's a permanently injured wing. And once again, birds need to have their full flight capabilities and have really good feet as well in order to survive. And he's a really good example of call a professional if you find an injured animal. If found in a timely manner, a lot of times those animals' injuries can be triaged and cared for, and hopefully the animal then could be re-released.
So why can't the wing be fixed? What's the difference?
So in this case, it was that the wing healed poorly.
But couldn't you re-break and do it again? Or
that'd be a really hard thing. It's really difficult, especially for birds, because their bone structure is different than a person's bone structure. Most of their bones are hollow, and it's not an easy fix once it's healed incorrectly.
Do they shatter, or?
Yeah, if you think about it just like a straw, that's very similar to what some of their bones are like. They're made to be lightweight, to make these animals aerodynamic, and unfortunately they don't break in the same way our bones do, and it's a much more difficult fix if once a bone heals incorrectly. It's always a good idea to call a wildlife rehabber and ask good questions and
try to catch it early.
And try and catch it early.
Oh.
This is Steven.
Here, Steven, I'm going to give you the mic, and you can let the world know how things have been. Yes, right.
Tell me a life story, buddy.
Steven says he wants more food.
You just had 2 worms. What more do you want?
So Steven is another rescue. Steven actually came to us this past year in 2020. We always say we have different years where we just get more of one animal than any other. And last year we got over 20 skunks as rescues.
Wow.
A lot of them could be re-released.
20 skunks?
Yeah, it was quite a few. It was the year of the skunk. But Steven was one of those animals that was, again, picked up as a really small animal, probably eyes not even open, and was hand raised by somebody and then was brought to us. But at that point, he was already too habituated to people to be re-released.
So he really likes being held. Does he like being held by Rachel, or does he like just being held?
He likes being held by anybody.
Really?
As long as you hold him, he's happy. And he likes to, tuck away.
Does he shed?
I guess so.
A little bit, nothing crazy.
Yeah,
Okay,
not as bad as some animals do.
He's got long. Yeah, a little bit. But the claws too. Does he dig into you? I noticed he has some longer claws. You got to keep his claws.
So they're natural diggers. They're gonna root for different insects
and things. Can he hurt you when
you're
holding him, or?
They're dull, so they're not sharp. They're more for digging.
Oh, okay.
So they don't hurt too bad.
Okay, not too
Or
bad.
I've just got tough skin at this point. I don't know.
Right.
But
Can I pet?
yeah, definitely.
Oh, great. Oh, he's soft.
Did remove his scent glands at this point because we can take him out now and talk to visitors about, why it's important not to pick up baby animals and keep them in your home.
Yeah.
They do get too habituated and then are not releasable to the wild. And so Steven's a perfect example of that. As cute and adorable as he is, you're not going to want this in your home as a lifetime pet, and it's not safe and it's not legal. And so what we recommend, and it's not legal. So it's always a good idea to call the zoo and say, hey, this is what I found, or this is what I see in my yard or under my deck or in my garage, and we can help guide them as to what next steps should be.
Reptile House.
This is our Gila monster, and he is probably the oldest animal here at the zoo. I think he came here the year the zoo opened, so he's over 30 years old, because we've been around for 33 years. He's really up there now. He's up into his 30s, almost mid-30s. We actually don't know exactly how old he is because he did come in as an adult rescue. He was actually found floating on a log in the Gila River, and sometimes when flash floods occur, reptiles like these can get caught up in it and aren't made for water and aren't made for that fluctuation in temperature because they are cold-blooded. And he was really found cold and not moving on a log, and that's how he got his name Moses. He was brought in for rescue. And yeah, but they're beautiful. These guys are native to Arizona. They are actually venomous, but not in the same way as the rattlesnake. They actually have a saliva that contains venom, and they have grooves in their teeth so that when they were to bite down on something like a mouse or a lizard, the saliva in the grooves of their teeth run into the animal, and that's how they kill that animal. Exactly, very similar to a Komodo dragon.
This is the red-tailed boa here. So look at that. That's right out of with Mowgli and Disney. It's got that face and that kind of that grin, you know.
So you can kind of see. Let me take a peek here. You see how his eye is getting kind of clouded? It looks
like cataracts.
Right. So it's actually that means we call it turning blue, and so snakes actually shed their skin in all one piece, and they actually do have a scale that covers their eye. So when they're about to shed their entire skin, that scale that covers their eye starts separating, and that's why it gets that bluish color. So pretty soon all of his scales across his body will start loosening up, and he'll actually just slide right out of his old skin and kind of turn it inside out, and that's how you find snake shed. What's really amazing, most boa constrictors obviously don't have venom, but they use their bodies as constricting devices, so they are incredibly muscular throughout their body and will actually wrap themselves around their prey, and every time the prey takes an inhalation of breath, they just squeeze harder until the animal dies. Exactly. That's how they eat. And one of the things I always, like to tell people about owls in general is there's a reason that they can turn their head 280 degrees in either direction, and that is because they cannot roll their eyes in their eye socket. So we can kind of roll our eyes, without moving our head and look side to side.
Oh, yeah.
Owls cannot. They're
straight ahead.
Only straight ahead. Their eyes are fixed in one position because they are so big. There's just not enough room for all the muscles behind there to move their eyes, and so they've adapted by moving their neck instead. And you can kind of see right now, he's sunning himself. You see how he's kind of sitting there kind of Buddha-like. That's what they tend to do. They have, that's how they want to warm up and absorb heat. And
so you're saying they're Buddhists.
They like to sit in the sun. Yep, especially after a cold night. They're known for their tails. That's why they get their name ring-tailed lemurs.
Okay.
And that's a really good way for them to communicate with one another as well. They tend to live in groups also. And that tail can really, say a lot within a group that says, hey, we're moving this way, there's danger. They do make kind of chirpy sounding noises as well, so they do have vocal communications as well. There tend to be a matriarchal group. They're usually a dominant female that will run the group, and then subordinate animals underneath her. They actually came in separately, and we did try to introduce them as one big group, but that's hard to do once they're older animals, and so it wasn't working out, and so we just decided to each give them their own space. And what's fascinating is a third way for them to communicate is actually with scent glands right behind their palms, kind of on their wrists, at the base of their tail. And a lot of times you'll see them kind of rubbing their arms and hands on their tail to actually spread that scent around. They'll rub it on trees to indicate territory. And what's fascinating is it can also communicate things like, oh, this is a female that's, ready to mate. And so they can tell just by the smell those things, and then it'll attract males for them to find her. So there's a couple of different animals that we have in our collection that are a two-person keeper animal, and that's our bears. So they'll clean the exhibit, hide their food all around.
Why are you hiding the food?
So we want to give them something to use their different senses. So we want them to use their smell. We want them to use their touch. We want them to hunt around and do some of the natural behaviors that they normally would do.
What did you just feed the on the rock there?
This one?
Yeah.
We got watermelon, mango.
That's what I thought. These animals are not starving.
No, they eat better than all of us.
And it's really funny. Recently on Valentine's Day, we celebrate their birthdays, the bear birthdays on Valentine's, and they got salmon. So they're very well fed. They're very well cared for. It was a hit. That's probably their favorite thing. The second favorite thing, oddly enough, is avocados. They love avocados. So you'll actually see Gus will walk around and sniff out where his favorite stuff is, and we'll almost always go for the avocado first, unless there's fish out here like salmon. Yeah,
avocado first.
Avocado
so
goes
like
first.
Guacamole.
Yeah.
If you give the bear it's chips and salsa. Oh,
there he is. That's Gus.
Boy, he is bigger than I thought he was going to be. So what type of bear is this bear?
So he is a black bear. Although if you
kidding.
look at him, he's a little bit more chocolate in color, and they can actually range in coloring. So
he's a big guy.
He is a big guy.
I am surprised.
And so he was an animal that had lost his mom as a cub, and because of that, he was hand raised here.
Wow. He's a really good-looking bear.
He's really handsome.
Yeah, I mean for a bear. He says, "What do you mean for a bear?"
He's a handsome guy.
For an anything.
So you're gonna see him. He's gonna investigate around the exhibit, see what he got for today. And
so he knows the drill.
Yes, he knows. He knows there's lots of goodies all over the place.
Easter.
Yeah, exactly. It's an Easter egg hunt every day.
That must be fun as heck for him. I'm with Pam McLaren, and she is the director of the Heritage Park Zoo. And Pam, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, thank you, first of all, for being here. We're thrilled that you are here. And I have been here since 2007. Originally came from the Phoenix Zoo down in the valley, and came up here to enjoy the nice climate and animals and nice, cozy, more quaint type of zoological institution. And we have over 200 animals here that we care for daily, as well as another 300 to 350 rescue animals a year, all with a staff of 14. So I am quite impressed with the staff that we have and what they can do. We have about 100 volunteers or so that help us throughout the year.
That's what I wondered about. Okay.
Volunteerism here is huge, and we rely on that pretty heavily in order to maintain the daily operations that we do.
But you just can't put me out here with them and expect me to do well. So how do they get either trained or know what they're supposed to do?
Absolutely. First of all, I think we could put you out there and you'd be fantastic. But you don't need any experience to do this. A genuine liking for the animals, interest and dedication is what we're looking for. We put them through all the training that they need to have here to work with the animals. And we start out with some of the easier animals, the ones that you have are tactile, some of the domestics that you can actually work with, and they work their way up. But they love what they do, and it's very rewarding for them. Here they're getting hands-on with some of the animals they'd never get at any other institution like ours, because we're able to do the training for them and help prepare them to work with the animals, and we need that help so desperately. So they stay on for a long time. We don't have a big turnover in the volunteer area. Fortunately, here in Prescott, volunteerism is a high need across the board in not only nonprofits, but a large number of institutions here, not just the zoo. Sure. So the people in this community are very welcoming and wanting to come out and help. We also have the summer camps in the summer for 7 weeks, so weekly for 7 weeks in the summer.
Okay, so you'll have, for 7 weeks, you have a different group, a different group, a different group, that
Correct.
allows more.
Correct.
And
or some sign up for more than 1 week, which is even better.
That's interesting.
It's great daycare, but they're learning a whole lot more and get hands-on with the animals. The campers are kids from age 6 to 12.
Okay.
They get to come out to the zoo and be with a qualified instructor that helps them learn all about the animals we have here. Some of them are hands-on with the animals. They actually get to do some of the cleaning and caretaking.
Well, how many kids max out in a camp?
30. We like them to drop them off and leave them with us so that we can enrich their brains with all of the good animal and environmental stuff. But they do get to take things home and show their parents what they're doing here at the zoo. Yeah, they do a great job. We do hikes at the lake. They do some wading into the lake and finding some aquatic creatures and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So it's not just in the zoo?
No.
So it's a lot of different things.
We're very fortunate in that. Beautiful community. Thank you for coming out today.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
So we did a whole tour of the zoo. That was great. You get to see a lot of the animals, and luckily it was a beautiful day out. Plus, the animals just wanted to come out. And I think it was more than just luck. We had some great people who could draw them out and help that happen. So you want to tell us anything else, Raquel?
We encourage just everybody to come out and visit. You know, I always say the Heritage Park Zoological Sanctuary is a really just small diamond in the rough that we like to spread the word about, because it's with community support that we can even continue to exist here. We don't have any city, state, or federal funding, so every admission that comes through the gate, every program that you attend really goes back to supporting the animal in our collection, as well as our conservation program. We encourage people to come out, enjoy the beautiful surroundings, and see our animals, because it's a great way to come and visit Prescott, and we're surrounded by a beautiful Willow Lake as well, so it's a great visit.
So we got 5 lake areas in Prescott that you could visit when you come to the zoo, so there's plenty of things to do here if you like to hike, you like outdoors, and especially with the zoo that if you like animals.
Thanks so much for coming out and really highlighting the sanctuary. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see everybody really soon.
Thank you for watching this episode on the Heritage Park Zoo. We really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. And we'll see you next time on your Neck of the Woods.